start the recording now, even though we have a minute or two. I thought I'd, line you up for the shot. Recently, I just started, in fact, yesterday, I just started probably something like my 200th MBSR class. And it's just 10 people upstairs, very casual, several graduates, which is always wonderful for me. And what was so wonderful was to hear again the impact of the practice, the impact of mindfulness, the impact of the teachings, the community, the teacher on someone's life, even when you're pretty sure that all fell away. I haven't heard from some of these people in years, literally. And they go, no, I think about this every day. I at least take a couple breaths every single day. And for some of these people, this is more than 10 years. And so I was curious, like, what brings you back now? And they were like, these dangerous, involuntary, obsessional, pervasive, habit-natured thoughts. I was like, yeah, I know. I get this. And I just want to keep remembering and then rediscovering and re-inquiring, right, into what happens that this, right, you're in this most beautiful space with this, right, people you love, and then the thought goes to murder or pornography or that chocolate cake or my list or something else. And I want to feel like I have a little more agency. And I know that those capturing these thoughts throughout the day is useful, and it is. And I also know it may not be enough. And they're right. Right? It's all true. It is useful. It is a benefit. It does count. And it is also true. It will not be enough to work with that potency of that habit-natured papancha, proliferation of thought. And so that led me to remembering something that I wanted to talk about today. So it's a little bit of a departure from where we have been working in our Tuesday group, which is really resting in the vast open space of boundless goodness, right? In equanimity, that unconditioned equanimity. The truth is, without some skill here, you can't get there, or to that fourth jhana, that equipoise, right? You know what I mean? This pervading equanimity. And so then I thought of the Buddha, and he gave, he was a fabulous list maker. We all know this. And he made these amazing lists. And my favorite lists come out of this part of the suttas called the middle length discourses, right? Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima Nikaya. Majjhima, I think, means probably something like in the middle, right? Hanging out in there somewhere. Nikaya, teachings or basket or source, something like that. Majjhima Nikaya. And I remember this because of his fifth recommendation, and I want to talk about it for a minute, and then we'll practice with it a little. And his fifth recommendation, and I think I'm going to read it because I love the languaging. So the translations are just stunning. And by the way, in these kinds of suttas, we have to be a little careful because they use some old language, right? Words like evil. We wouldn't want to use that today. We might use something like unskillful, not beneficial, right? Not consistent with the intention, something like that. But they use evil. So just hang on, folks. So this is his fifth recommendation. This is everything's failed. You got nothing. You're just, there it is, watermelon mind, as I called it from my first 30-day retreat, right? No matter what I did, watermelon. watermelon, the red of the watermelon, the taste of the watermelon, the cutting slice. You could hear it of the watermelon. I was wrapped, and I was wrapped really completely. It wasn't passive or random. It was watermelon. And I got up from my seat twice to go cut this damn thing. Like, I'll just eat it. I'll eat it, and that'll get rid of it. I'll just give it to myself. But something in me knows, like, will it? Will it really? Is that eating the chocolate, the potato chip? Does it then quench the true thirst? And the answer is, of course, it doesn't. And it doesn't mean a potato chip can't be pleasant, right? But really, is that the craving? Is that what we're truly seeking? And some part of me knows it, but I'm thinking, oh, fuck it. I'm cutting. And I get up twice, and I probably almost get a knife in my hand. And as I'm holding this knife, I'm thinking, this is like stabbing yourself in the heart, is what I realize. It is literally like there will be no good from this. And it doesn't mean you can't eat watermelon. That's not what I'm saying. The giving in to this mind will only result in the propensity to do it again. And I cried. Like, I can't do it, but the watermelon. And so this is the suggestion of the Buddha in this. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the practitioner while she is attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, then here's the instruction. With his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, crush his mind with his awareness. With his awareness. As with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he is beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness. Those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a strong man seizing a weaker man by the head or the throat or the shoulders would beat him down, constrain and crush him, in the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to the relaxing thoughts with regard, then with his teeth clenched, his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with awareness.
This is going Old Testament.
Isn't it? Yeah, like what? What about loving kindness? What about karuna? What about, where'd that go? Where it's embedded, actually, is what I want you to know. It is embedded in awareness, with awareness, not with hostility, not with hatred, right? Not with aversion, but with loving kindness, with compassion, with kindness, with the truth being known. Then we do whatever, right? It might take a grunt or two. We turn with intention and loving kindness and compassion. The opposite of a hostile act, in fact, right? But the way it's written, beat yourself about the head, right?
Hopefully crush this desire.
Yes. Lovingly,
Squash it.
kindly. And I was able to come to that, wasn't I, in that watermelon knife moment when I realized that really that was going to be just like causing harm to myself. I have eaten watermelon since, delectably, delightfully, deliciously, but with a different mind. And then a different heart. it isn't the watermelon then, right? Just like it isn't the thought, right? Then it's not the thought at all. Murderous thought, pornographic thought, thoughts arising and passing. It is, in fact, though, this attachment, aversion, and refusal to regard thoughts. And in the class yesterday, someone said, I forgot how to work. I forgot how to work with these ever appearing addictive, we could say, thoughts. And so I thought we might practice with them by going a little bit back to where the Satipatthana Sutta resides and just remembering the refuge, all of them that are available to us and that are so easy to forget because they are not often practiced, right? Then we forget them, not that they're not there or available. Does everyone get what I'm saying on Zoom? Does this feel like it makes some kind of sense? Megan's got a thumbs up there. Anyone else? You get what I'm saying, Dennis? Yeah. Yeah. I got a bunch of thumbs up on that. So let's practice together. See what happens as we investigate. And so for the practices associated with recognizing thought as thought, we begin, interestingly, in the body. So we're just going to get a felt sense. Of this body sitting here in this on this beautiful Saturday morning. Feeling the sense of the aliveness of the body. Noticing the sensed or appearances, hearing, smelling, feeling, tasting. And the weight of the body as it rests on the seat you have taken. And yet there is not too much to do, but first recollect our motivation, our aspiration, our commitment. Maybe even remember the benefits of the practice, that which has brought you here. We ignite the heart of bodhicitta with this recollection. And it generates continued motivation, support, application of effort then throughout the practice. We can always call it back to mind, invite it back into our heart space. And then the second recollection that is of benefit is to recollect those others, including yourself, for whom you practice. I'm calling to mind my friend Carrie Ann, who just got a very, very difficult diagnosis. I'm going to offer this practice to her. May its benefits contribute. And as we enter the heart space, then we breathe in, we ignite that bodhicitta. We find a place to rest within that breathscape. We don't abandon the felt sense by the way of the body as a whole. We'll just look a little deeper. See if we can't find a place within the breathscape to make contact. The felt sense of the breath, of one's aliveness, recollecting the gift of the preciousness of this human life. And our capacity to awaken. And then we sit. See if you can commit yourself wholeheartedly. Whether it's the heart space, the anapana, the whole of the breath space, or the whole body breathing. Finding an object that allows continuing attention. Both the in-breath, the out-breath, and the pause. And see if you can't touch into the breath and breath awareness lightly, maybe even joyfully. Now, there's a habit here to think about the breath, to think about the body, to conceptualize, and that's a beautiful recognition when you notice that you're doing it. And seeing then if you can't simply drop beneath the concepts, beneath the words, to rest in the direct experience of the breath. expanding, filling, rising, inflating on the in-breath. Can you feel it? And then the settling, softening, pouring out, drawing together of the ribs towards the spine, the weightedness, the release of the out breath. The placing of the mind again and again. We are watchful of the habits of forcing, demanding, expecting, the habits of criticism, judgment, the wish for it to be perfect or better. This idea that something about this means something about us. And we recognize those wandering thoughts and we smile at the recognition. This is a moment of awakening, knowing a thought as a thought. And with that recognition, Joseph Goldstein has a saying. He says, "Enough, dear." enough. And gently invites himself back to the direct experience, this present moment, this body, this breath. Inclining the mind towards the breath sensations as an essential refuge. But remembering to do so with that gentleness, with that friendliness, with genuine care. Seeing if we can ride the waves of the breath rather than forcing attention. Can I feel that sense of the breath as that embracing arms of a most loving mother, cradling us, rocking us, feeling that gentle sway. And noticing that we move then a little closer, a little deeper into the experience without demand. Resting in the ocean of awareness, feeling that gentle sway of each wave. And having stabilized the mind, having unified the mind, having concentrated the mind, when noticing a thought, recognizing that thought, applying our mindfulness, knowing the thought as a thought, the first instruction. And then re-intentioning, recommitting oneself to the direct experience of the breath in the present moment. The metaphor used in the suttas is as a carpenter trying to pound in a rough-hewn uh, nail or knob or a dowel, and then finding a more well-suited, softer, smoother, better fitted dowel that just then moves right into the hole. We're not fighting against, creating friction. We're gently returning the attention to the breath again and again. And if another strategy is needed, we might consider replacing that thought of desire, that thought of hatred, anger, ill will, or aversion, that delusion or ignorance of thoughts as thoughts. We could awaken in a moment of mindfulness and then simply offer a more benefiting thought. Maybe even a more benign thought. And once again, Joseph Goldstein, a master, of course, in this tradition, says, I want to kill my mother and the sky is blue. An opportunity to neutralize thought. Or I am having this murderous thought. Can I offer myself a thought of self-compassion? Remembering that others, just like me, feel this too, or even think this too. Replacing an unskillful thought with a skillful one. Try that on, see how that is a benefit for you. Another strategy might be to simply relax, soften the body a little more, bring a little more focused attention to the out breath, and settle back a little bit. The metaphor used is like a man running needlessly, pressuring himself, demanding needlessly, and recognizing that he could slow down, that he could not run but could choose to walk. And then not only could he walk, he could choose to sit down. And if he needed to rest more, he could not only sit down, he could lie in repose, offering oneself relaxation, greater ease, reduced demand. Slow things down. Maybe just one breath. We could also choose to offer a supportive practice. So when the mind is frothing with thought rather than struggle, we might choose to stand. We might choose to offer ourselves a walking meditation, for example, rather than struggle. We could invite compassion for ourselves with a supportive practice. Directing the mind with additional support, such as a gentle movement, a change in position, an anchoring to a particular sensation. Seeing how that works for you. And one of my favorite practices, really, when the mind has just gotten caught, is to offer myself one of the antidotes, the Brahma Viharas, to consider simply abandoning the object for the moment, to offer oneself one's own heart. Loving kindness in the face of anger, compassion in the face of suffering. Offering faith in moments of doubt, recollecting our skill, our confidence, and the benefits of the practice. These are ideas of the antidote, offering ourselves the good medicine. Recognizing that wandering thoughts are a part of this human condition. Part of this human mind. Remembering that these thoughts are not just me or mine at all, that others, all others just like me, feel this, know this too. And then feeling for us all. Compassion is also a concentration practice, just feeling for us all who struggle with this proliferating mind of thoughts. You can change the object, you can change the posture, you can change the mind that's holding awareness of thoughts. You can even invite the heart practices. And then we smile at the possibilities, and we smile as we remember that we have used them. We have called them up, we have used them well, and that they are always available. And can you feel that felt sense of room, felt sense of warmth, this sense of companionship with oneself and one's mind, however it is? that there is this possibility for unconditional friendliness. And then a thought is just a thought, recognized as a thought. And the sky is blue. And the capacity of awareness is to pervade all things. And as the thing arises and passes, awareness is present, still, silent, and spacious. Holding it all. Vitaka. Vitaka, placement of mind. And vichara, the felt sense. Right? The felt sense, the what about it? What's the feeling with it? It's not the thought itself. And still considered, by the way, to be thought, but this felt embodied thought. So as I reflected on the possibilities, right? Anybody remember them? Like, oh yeah, that worked. That worked. I did that. I just went, forget about it. I'm just gonna take a walk. I'm gonna, right, feel for myself and all those others who obsess about how we gonna do this, how we gonna work with this, how am I gonna manage this, how am I gonna make sure my children are okay? Is one of those thoughts I'm hearing a lot about from householders. How am I gonna do that?
Next question. So, this is happening. And, the sun is still rising and
Yes.
falling, that
Yes,
duality, that those two truths.
yes,
Still okay. I think this is still, the world is still moving around me. And
yes,
like, it's still
yes, that's right. That's right. Expanding the field beyond just this perseverative thought to, and I'm all right now, says for cancer. Right? Even with this spinning mind, even with
Two. Toward the beginning, I was playing push the jaw, as the mind was wandering in a light way.
Yeah.
It's kind of part of the release, and sometimes do that and then open. Sometimes it open, do it, and
yeah,
but then after that invitation, it kind of shifted a lot of my thinking today. There was a lot of thinking. The thoughts didn't get far, so there was not like long wanders, but there was a lot of energy, and they were like thoughts about Dharma, right? And so it was like inspired thoughts,
Yes.
and thoughts that were making connections. And so with the invitation to like remind Scott is also here, was like thoughts about the and like Sanga's here now, like Dharma
Yes.
is here now.
yes,
Like
Yes.
to the like
yes,
and I am with Sangha now, right? It's
Yes.
to let go of like the Dharma strategies.
yes,
Just open to
The
felt
Dharma.
sense that's what is here.
yes. Yeah, that's the beautiful interaction of the mind, right? The mind that is making beautiful connections and important ones, right? This remembering and then the pairing of the thoughts with other for insight. This is the development of insight, and not to write the dissertation, right? But to recognize, and like this, and then the birds can be, and I can still make contact with the felt sense of aliveness, right? Yeah,
I found this kind of comical phenomenon of like reflecting on the one who is letting go, and it's like, it's like a weird kind of fractal thing where you're like, oh yeah, I'm like, he's really letting go now. Like, well, who's letting go, right? And so it was really helpful when when you said that. It was just playing the game again, just like a different different lens.
that's right.
But then like when you use that term like unconditional friendliness, for some reason that one really landed with me. It's like, yeah, I can, or resting can happen as unconditional friendliness without you having to be.
Yes, that's right. Always there, always available. Then we don't have to get caught in the question. We rest in the knowing, right? We can invite the question, but then rest in the knowing. Whatever that felt sense is often more skillful than all the thinking about, right? And then like this and that. And you get lost, I think, in nouns and verbs. I don't notice for myself that I get lost in the felt sense. That it's so informative and precious, really. That when I'm there, it feels like that just releasing into knowing, and then the questions about it. That's right. The attending to thought is useful. So says the teaching, the attending to it, not just throwing your hands up. I think that happens a lot. And I noticed that yesterday, of course, in the beginning of an 8-week mindfulness course, that would be reasonable to go, what the hell? This is hopeless. And everyone thinks that, and right, you're just becoming aware of thoughts, and just the awareness itself. It's like, oh my God, this popcorn of thoughts, there's no hope for me. And of course, then it's all of us who remind ourselves and each other, right? In fact, there is a thought's just a thought. it is not who you are. The most horrendous thought, the most loving thought is not what defines us as a thought. Yeah. Other thoughts about thoughts? What do you know about thoughts? Is, I don't know who it was. It says we have about 10 thoughts and they just circle back around. That they're really not very original. They're not particularly creative. They're simply, yeah, just a bunch of thoughts. What are they?
Am I gonna eat?
Yeah, not even quite that specific, actually. A lot closer to, I like this, I don't like this. I want this, I don't want this, right? This is kind of the nature. And then you can add your little Pete specific or your little Diana Watermelon specific, right? But the real is the wanting and not wanting, the liking, the pleasant and the unpleasant, and the continuous narration of life.
How much it's about just you and your stuff and your, it's so.
All 10 of those thoughts.
You know, I have my best friend for the past 10 years has been taking care of her mother, who's now finally in end stages of Alzheimer's. And over these 10 years, it's been challenging to remain, she lives in the Central Coast. She's like family to me. She's like a sister to me more than a friend even, but she's devoted and given up most of her life. This isn't a judgment, this is just a fact at this point, to care for this person who's been gone for a very long time. And the feelings that come up with, wanting to be close to her, things happening in my life, wanting her to be here and her choice to be there, understandable, sometimes not understandable, just a lot of feelings, but always popping up again. That's been the biggest teacher for me, is all the feelings that come around. I want to see her, I miss her, and this is still happening. All these things out of one's control, and yet, how much of when I get upset with something is about thoughts in my head and what I need and what I wish could be true. And there's so much to work with there.
Yes.
All the time.
It is a rich field.
All the time.
It is a rich field.
Yeah.
And that we can feel for ourselves, I think maybe without being watchful of this kind of, I'm just broken and fucked up. Because I have these, to recognize this as the nature of this human mind. And to feel for ourselves in it, really, and to recognize wanting, and then seeing if we can't cultivate from that recognition some kind of genuine care, right? Because the other may never be available in a way we hope, want, wish, prayed, preferred, right? It may never be that you get to eat the watermelon. It may never be that you live a mile from the beach, that your practice is perfect, that, right. And so then what? How does the practice support us?
So like, what's going on in me? These thoughts keep coming up. It's making it all about her, but she's not giving me.
Yeah.
What do I need?
Yeah. And how do I offer that? Since the needing nature of this human mind body is real, how do we do that for ourselves?
And not cut her out or say, you're this, which is the old me would have done. I can't be with that. I still want you in my life. There's so much value. I care about you. I love you. How do we make that workable with where you're at and what's happening in your life?
Yeah. Yeah. If you can start with you, I think you probably can find some way. I remember once having a friend, a very dear friend, had a second baby and a baby with some challenges. And she called me one day, and we'd seen each other every day, let's say for 5 years, raising our children together. And she said, you know, I need an everyday friend. And I could remember the feeling, like sick to my stomach feeling, like, uh-oh, I don't have that. And then I remembered that I did. But it wasn't going to look like maybe her version of that, which is we had coffee together, we took a walk together, we played with the kids in the playground. And I remember panicking first, like, uh-oh, I don't have what this takes. And then I said, I can be that everyday friend, and I probably can't see you, be with you every day. And she said, that may not work for me. And I said, I understand. I do, because I'm also having to accept and understand my limitation. Of course, now I can open to yours, right? Because I'm going, I know I can't pull that off. I do not have what it takes today. It doesn't mean I can't, or that I never will, or that it won't continue to grow and change. But this is what I know today, is that probably we will not be able to continue as we as we had been, and we ended as peaceably as I think we could. We transitioned that relationship for the way it looked or could look at that time. And I never have stopped caring about her or loving her or seeing her as a friend. And it has not looked like I thought either. It has not looked like I would have wanted. But can I recognize that simply as thinking? Ideas about friendship like this, and ideas about friendship like that, and ideas that we're supposed to get together, or we're supposed to talk, or you would at least call me once a week, says my mom, or right. And by the way, not to be disregarded, but to be understood as thoughts. To be understood as thoughts. I don't know who it was, but maybe it was Joko, but I'm not sure who said, my thoughts about my mother are not my mother. And my thoughts about myself are not the self. And that, as Anthony was saying, there is always that fearless place that can abide and hold fearing thoughts, right? That is not caught, hooked, drowning in it. It is always there. And how do we access it? And these were just 5 tips, 5 possible strategies.
I was just really, I guess what resonated with me today was the words, just slow it way down.
Slow it way down. That's one
You
of
know,
the,
and there's nothing that's gonna, I guess those words, just saying them slowly, and I think that's been just resonating with me lately. Like, it's nothing really has to happen at some pace or cadence, or so I don't know. I really resonated with
Wonderful,
kind of
Dan.
where I'm at.
Wonderful that you can recognize even the demand for getting it all done, the allness, right? The staying busy or get as thoughts. And then
Well, just
yeah,
I started reading Untethered again. And
yes.
it's and I have read it slowly, like a page a day, or just really taking it in and trying to be aware, and so thoughts are kind of but slowing it way down.
Yes.
And even then from there, slowing it down even more.
Yes.
So yeah.
Do you remember the simile there, the going from running to walking to stopping to standing to sitting, to lying to equipoise, to just being, and knowing that all of that is okay also, and sometimes necessary for us, because we are so demanding, really. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the narration is the challenge, right? That
Yeah.
narration, and I'm alone probably most of the time now. Not most of the time, all the time, but in my house, and I think you have to I'm just a little more conscientious about how much I just narrate the world around me, just to try to make sense of it, which then really isn't me. So yeah, that's really a good takeaway from this morning. Thank you. Is
Wonderful.
continuing to slow it down.
Slow it down. Yeah. Any other of those strategies resonate for anyone that you recognize that you use in a pretty regular? I identified mine as inviting that larger mind of, we all know this, this is not just me or mine. And that's very, very automatic for me now. When I get caught in, you should be like this, or I should be like that. Just remembering these as thoughts, and then remembering that they do not define who I am, and feeling them for us all. Both in the truth of suffering from them and in the path to their end. Like, we can just then invite compassion there with those very simple, right? Others feel this, know this, think this too. Yeah. So what other ones, any other become particularly, Dennis is saying, playing my hand drum really helps me find my heart and my true nature. Yes, this is that inviting, conducive, supportive other practice. I used walking meditation just as an example of that, but couldn't it as easily be drumming? Yeah, it could. I actually remember a practice. I was having a challenge swallowing, and the focused attention on that was just really vibrant, and it was so energized, and there was a lot of over attention. And I was like, I can. And so the more I thought about it, of course, and and I'm like choking on my own saliva. And I was in a long retreat at that time, and I thought, I'm going to die here. Thought, if I stay in this engaged, like pervading, got it. And so the only thing I could think to do was, with each in breath, I pressed my fingers together, and the out breath I released. And then I pressed the finger on the in breath to redirect the attention to another sensation, and release. And guess what? There it was. And I only had to do it a couple of times, and then I could rest. And then, right, the arising thought might return or not, depending, right, on quality of mind and what was happening. And then I could just redirect if I needed it. Supportive practice, conducive conditions, right? And it isn't just sitting. There are other things we can skillfully, lovingly, in the interest of the practice, do. Right? This is not failure. This is not means you messed up, so now you've got to do some. These are understood to be right supports. Right supports. Anybody resonate with the idea of offering one of the heart practices? The shifting right out of just concentrate, although it is considered a concentration practice, but to concentrate on the felt sense, the kindness, the friendliness, the care, really like this, redirecting attention with movement. We can redirect attention with a different quality of heart mind. Let me invite that one rather than stay gripped in it, right? Changing the object, changing the quality of mind, changing the posture. Look at all the possibilities now. And now it doesn't feel like practice is this tight little spring that you ain't gonna do it if you get, you just die. Look, it's infinite. It's infinite, isn't it? And if you feel that contractedness, that, right, claustrophobic, that's a quality of mind. That's not the practice. That's just a quality of mind. Good to know it and good to attend to it. Yeah. With a little more space and room.
I noticed there's a subtle distinction between, again, like thinking about the heart practice, right? You know, like almost like going from here to you
Yeah.
know, to hear, to
Yes.
hear, and rather just directly dropping into here
Yes.
without any evaluation, any expectation, any image, anything besides just. But it's a really, really like, you know, fine line. I could notice this drift between, and
Yeah.
then, oh yeah, thinking about
Yes.
heart practice.
Yes,
thinking about-
that's right. You could talk,
Yeah.
we could call that toggling. And Vitaka says initial placement is a thought and can be skillful.
Mm.
So the thought, I may want to do a heart practice now, would be seen as conducive and supportive,
Mhm.
not as distraction, not as habitual mind state at all. In fact, what might be the rule, anything that invites opening, right, is likely beneficial thought versus I want the watermelon, I want the watermelon, I want the watermelon. If I can't get the watermelon, I'm gonna figure out how to get the watermelon. And if I can't, and right, the perseverative, papancha nature, proliferative, you can feel it, can't you? Like, this one is, oh, this. And it has even, can you feel it? Huh? Like, in it. And you may have to invite it again.
There's even a difference in language, you know, like I want, but something outside myself versus like, can I just open to, is this almost the question of like, does this really serve me? How do
That's
I
right.
open to something else?
Yes. And any opening, according to the neuroscience, is a benefit. If it's an opening to I could, I would call that skillful. And then, yes, I love the idea. Can I invite, embody the experience, right? Not just placement, but now can I open there really? And the answer is that's a nice practice. Because thoughts about loving kindness are spectacular. It's why I hated the loving kindness practice. It was nothing but a set of thoughts. And man, I had them down. I could recite the lines. I was like, I don't know. Really? No, it's true. It is not enough if you cannot then invite and embody. Right. All the may we all be well, easy to say. Right. And can you use that repetition then to invoke the experience? That's its point.
I was still reverberating from the reading, and it's really mind-blowing because I'm just the way that we make rules about practice. So, you know, when you read it, I was just like, I've been overemphasizing the non-striving part, you know, like the idea of non-efforting, non-striving, non-resistance, no control, and then that concept that, you know, every now and then you're just gonna have to bear down. You're
Yes.
just gonna have, I mean, he literally said, grit your teeth. I'm like, grit your teeth.
Yes.
That's
Press
not
your tongue
mindful.
against the teeth. Right? Yes.
But my struggle recently has been with, you know, the return of some behaviors I don't want to be
Yes.
engaging in. And, you know, my teaching, watch it arise, watch it pass away. When you truly land in awareness, you will then make this gentle, skillful choice. And I just love having the Buddha be like, either that or you're gonna bear down and not
Enough.
enough.
That's really that's skillful. Enough. We would not allow it for someone we loved, would we? Like, you're not going to put the key in the socket. You can want to. And can I, out of love, care for you? Really enough, dear. Which is what Joseph Goldstein offered as so we don't get aggressive and fall into demand, but really out of genuine care, say, this caramel corn is not helping, really. And as much as you eat or is really not going to serve what your greater aspiration is. And then we, right, whatever you get, and get in another, or eat celery, or, you know, you find the infinite other. Right. Don't we? Yeah, I wanted to read this last line because it summarized it. Since we have the teaching right here in front of us. This is by translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi, and I always love his translations.
Amazing.
Isn't it impressive? Joking. I want to make sure I find this group because he summarizes this in a way I think is so lovely. Okay, I guess it is there. Now, when a monk attending to another theme, scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, paying no attention to those thoughts, attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness, steadies his mind right within. That's what meditation is, right? Settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. He is then called a monk with mastery over the ways of thought. He thinks whatever thought he wants to and doesn't think whatever thought he doesn't want to. He has severed craving, thrown off the fetters, and through the right penetration has made an end of suffering and distress. He thinks the thoughts he wants to and doesn't think the thoughts he doesn't.
Sweet.
Yes.
Swipe right.
Swipe right. Swipe right. He said it's like swipe, like a little dating app. Do you get what we're saying? That really, I don't know how Pete knows this. He's been married for 1,000 years now. What's the point? The thought was never the problem. Oh. The thought was never the problem. The friend was never the problem. The mother was never the problem. The mind you held it with is good to know and can be then skillfully applied to the end of suffering, so that thoughts simply are thoughts, a part of this human experience. Right? Isn't it encouraging? It is for me. I feel encouraged every time I remember and then read, right? It isn't the thought. It's the mind that holds it, rejects it, demands of it, or otherwise.
Diana,
Yes.
I haven't seen you for a while and I've missed you and missed
Oh, Marie,
everybody.
hello. Good morning. So nice to
It's
see you.
cold up here in North County.
It is. You got your beanie on. That's adorable.
So I just love it's not anything but the thought that's the problem. So like think a different thought, think a nicer thought.
Yeah.
I mean, can you really just narrow all suffering down to that one sentence? Like
Yeah.
if that's bothering you, then frickin' think something else.
Yeah. There's a thing in front of it though, Marie, that I think is challenging.
So there's some caveats.
There's a couple, yeah, that is an amazing solution and does still work every time. Once you recognize a thought as a thought, but primarily we buy into those proliferations as essential truths about self, other, and the world, called "It should be like this." And I'm feeling pretty sure about it, right? Don't we? I'm in it. And so once you go, thought is thought, right? You're freed. Once you go, fear is fear, then the no fearing possibility is right there. But what does it take? Significant insight, significant disciplined effort, significant wisdom factor to go, now I see the thinking, now I've got the infinite possibility. What's it take to get there is about, well, they say a couple lifetimes. And then also I want to add just this moment, right? So we don't get twizzled around that. You get what I'm saying, Marie? It is simple. Once you are awake, everything gets simpler. Once you are awake, it's the awakening trick that I'm still working on. Jan, were you going to say something before we
I
end?
was just gonna say, once a thought becomes a visceral,
Yeah, once it gets in the body.
it's
Yeah.
much, it's.
Yeah.
And the thought's just this cute little cloud bubble floating
Yes.
above your head. It's much easier. Once
Yes.
It's a visceral level.
Yes. Yes. So Jan just said, when a thought is just a thought in that little bubble, right? Thing up in the sky that happens in those comic strips, no big deal. But when that thought actually activates and then becomes vichara, really honk the right, the felt, physical, embodied sense, it is very challenging to work with because we are now, right, caught. And now no longer just caught by thought, we're caught by vichara. All that goes with that, all the paired thoughts, all the associations, all the proliferation. And we're always working on it. And yes, once recognized, it is the beginning of the path to freedom. It is also true. And so we start there.
I always think of it as my propensity again.
Yes. There it is. It's such a lovely word, right? Like papancha, just pop, 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 pop.
Hey,
Continue. Yes.
Dee,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I got a text from someone this week and I did not know how to respond because there's a lot there, a lot of, and I told myself that I would not respond until I came to this Saturday, the Sangha meditation.
Mhm.
And now I know how to respond. So anyhow, without saying more,
Yes.
thank you. But I was able to actually like go to my heart by shedding a tear too during this meditation. And I decided that I'm going to respond just
Or any
with
response that,
with an open heart,
yeah,
and also maybe not going all the way. I'm not awakened yet, so I'm going to give what I can with an open heart, but
Yeah.
it's not going to look awakened, but it's going to be giving what I can right now so
you
I
know
can
what?
be
It might
skillful.
just be kind. It
Mhm.
sounds like it's open-hearted.
Yeah,
That
so
doesn't
thank
sound
you.
like a bad start. That sounds like a pretty good one. So good for you. And I don't know if things are complete. You have to be careful, don't we, about this complete thought, complete. We may never arrive. Maybe in pieces all along. Right. And so, but now you can at least say, I can be open-hearted. Maybe just that. And I'm committed to that. And I don't know anything else yet. That seems,
enough.
yeah, awake enough. Right? Awake enough. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you all. Let's sit together for a moment. We're going to offer the dedication of this practice and this beautiful conversation and this clarity and this wisdom, and it's co-arising confusion. I'm still scratching my head. We don't have to get rid of anything here. We can hold it all in that vast, open, sky-like quality of mind. That most awakened, most caring, most unconditioned part. And may we call to mind for a moment, once again, our motivation for our practice and those for whom we practice. And breathe them in. Make real contact. May we offer the benefits, the blessings, and the merits of this practice today. And then all practice throughout all time on which it rests. May we offer this to the end of suffering for ourselves, for our loved ones, for those in need, for those who are hungry, those who are lonely, those who are fearful, those who are dying, for those we know and those we don't. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. True, abiding happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all celebrate, rejoice, and be glad at the gift of this precious human life and all of its afforded blessings. And may we wish those very blessings and that happiness for others. May we rest and dwell then in the vast, boundless, infinite, empty, and open heart mind of equanimity, of wisdom, free from all affliction and awakened. Just like this, one breath. And may this practice this very day contribute, and may it grow and flourish and never cease. So be it. Thank you all, dear, dear, dear Sangha. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your commitment. You're so welcome, everyone. Marie, so good to see you. Megan, so good to see you. I've got some new faces. Good to see you all. I hope to get to see you in Tuesday at 7. We'll do our 7:15 to 7:30 silence and then continue on as
Thank
we
you,
investigate.
Diana.
You're
Thanks.
so welcome, Graciela. Be well.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Be well, everyone.
Thank you so much. I think I heard Pete's voice over there. I got to go to his,
Pete's voice over here.
I got to go to his beautiful dome for breath work the other day with some friends, and it was just beautiful.
It is absolutely stunning in every way. And Pete is hearing you and so knows you are sharing his joy.
Yeah.
But
I
that's-
love you guys, and thank you so much.
So
I just
love
our
to
practice, everybody in our group. So have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you all.